When I was asked if I would, come out and give 5 ideas, I don't like to say that good ideas. I'm saying 5 ideas because you're going to have to be the judge if they're good ideas or not. It was a bit daunting, because after doing this work in an official capacity for the last 13 years or so, and in an unofficial capacity, it seems all my life, you tend to have a lot of ideas. And so how do you pick the five? How do you pick 5? It's like saying which one of my kids should go to college. It's like they're all good ideas, and it's really what you do with those ideas I think are really important. So I'm going to share with you some ideas, and hopefully you will have some of your own ideas as well that may come out of it. As Kathy said at the beginning, we are going through change. It's all around us. And we all know the old adage, everyone loves change, so long as the other person is the one that's changing, of course, okay? And as a society, we are in the middle of tremendous change. Just think about some of the most recent ones that has occurred. We have a new pope from a new part of the world. One only wonders what changes will emerge out of that within the Catholic Church. The economy, yeah, it's recovering, but still kind of shaky, change. Our social, political institutions, they're all shaking, they're all changing. And here in Toronto, we still have Mayor Rob Ford. Change is difficult, nonetheless. And as Kathy also talked about, she mentioned John Seeley Brown, there was a time in our planet when profound change occurred, profound change. And it would have been great if television cameras were there to see it happen, because the Cambrian explosion happened. Okay, it was this explosion when it was a time when new life forms sort of appeared on the planet. The seas were warm, and even the ice caps. They weren't around They weren't around at the time. The polar ice caps. They weren't even existing at the time. It was an incredible moment in time in the evolution of the Earth and of life. And John Seeley Brown is this computer scientist. He calls himself the chief disruptor. He says, we are in this Cambrian moment when this convergence of and technology will lead to this explosion of creativity. And it's a moment where everything is being disrupted, where there's institutions, technologies, personal lives, governments. And according to him, it's in this Cambrian moment where new kinds of opportunities will start emerging. And we're already seeing that. Because just look around you. Cell phones are not cell phones anymore. They're smartphones. And they seem to get smarter every time somebody launches a new one. And the reality of the cyborg, part human, part machine, is not science fiction anymore. This stuff's real. It's happening around us. The Arab Spring has happened. And Barack Obama and his family, they're still in the White House. Okay? But I believe diversity is having its own Cambrian moment. And it's for us to recognize within that Cambrian moment of diversity, there's some tremendous opportunities for us in the way we think, the way we approach it, and the way we behave in terms of diversity and inclusion. Every now and then, I don't know about you, every now and then I get these things in my inbox. Somebody will pass it on to me. Said, have you seen this? Have you read this? Did you know about that? But every now and then I get something in my inbox asking the provocative question, is diversity dead? Is diversity dead? People want to know. Inquiring minds want to know. And there are articles about the demise of diversity in some really serious publications, such as Forbes or the Wall Street Journal. And there's even a website where you can actually go and vote on this question. And the last time I checked, 600 voted yes, it was dead. And almost 1,500 voted no. I guess I should be encouraged by that. But sometimes I got to think the naysayers they may be onto something. Those 600 may be onto something. Because when you think about it, the gender wage gap still exists. Finding a person of color on a corporate board in this country is like hunting for a glass marble in a pile of snow. Black men earn substantially less than their white counterparts. Black women earn more than black male on average, and that's not saying much either. And if we're really honest about it, if we're really truly honest about it, the diversity needle in the mainstream media hasn't really moved a whole lot in 30 years. So, is diversity dead? I don't know. But despite these grim realities, I don't believe it's dead. I don't believe diversity is dead. Because at its core, diversity is about people. At its very core, it's about people. In all their dimensions, whether it's race, gender, sexual orientation, ethnicity, age, physical ability, where they live, how they live. The wonderful and sometimes perplexing mixture of what makes us humans. So how can that be dead? How can that be dead? What may be dying, however, is how we think about diversity. So I'd like to suggest a way we can breathe new life into diversity. How to create what I'm going to call a Lazarus moment for diversity. Okay? So here are my ideas. First, we need to stop thinking about diversity in one-dimensional terms. Organizations must take what I like to think of as a more integrated approach, a holistic approach to diversity. Diversity and inclusion, because I use those words together. I just don't say diversity. Because diversity, quite frankly, is quite easy. Think about it. Just get a bunch of different folks. Get one of those, two of them, half of that. Okay, a dash of this. Inclusion is tougher. Because that's when you have to make the diversity work. That means you're going to have to change the way you do things. That's the tough part. So diversity and inclusion must be embedded in key parts of any organization if they are to be successful. Ask yourself this question. Where is diversity and inclusion in our leadership, for example? The decision makers, the people responsible for guiding the development and implementation of the organizational strategy. Where is diversity and inclusion in our products and services? Are they relevant to our potential clients? Do they even make sense anymore? Are we selling them old stuff to new audiences? Where is diversity in our human capital, the people we hire, our contractors, the volunteers that we use? Ask yourself those questions. Where are those? Where is it in the workplace environment? Our policies and our procedures, are they inclusive enough? And sometimes not just those policies that are written down, but are those unwritten policies that only some people know about and others never find out. Where is diversity and inclusion in our connections with our stakeholders? And how well do you know your stakeholders? Whether there's the public, your funders, even governments. Where is it in our marketing approach? Okay. Our strategies that appeal to this diverse set of customers, clients, donors, and other key financial supporters. And success in all of this must be measured not only by how many different types of people you hire, or how many speeches you may deliver to the ethnic group of the month. Success must be measured on how the client experiences the organization. And the client is not only the people who buy your services or buy your products. The client is also the people who work for you. That's how you measure success. Integrative, holistically. Second, become more interculturally competent. This means we must learn how to better adapt to the differences around us, and we must learn how to bridge the cultural differences that we're going to be encountering every single day. You encounter those differences every single day, whether you're on the subway, the streetcar, walking on the sidewalk, or going to lunch, or being here today. You're encountering cultural differences. What are we having in this country, I believe, is not an ethnic problem. I believe we're having a cultural problem. So, don't deny the existence of cultural differences by looking at the world only through your own cultural lens. And stop seeing the world in terms of us and them. Think about it. There's a lot of conversation these days about the eruption of violence, of shootings, and death of young men in the city. And it's really interesting to listen to the conversation that's been going on in the media and just people walking and talking among themselves. The fact is, when a young black man is shot to death by another young black man, it's not their problem. It's your problem. It's our problem. Don't ignore the unique differences that each of us have. As much as we like everyone to think and act like us, the fact is they won't, because simply people are different. Accept the differences and the things we all have in common by acknowledging and valuing those differences. And know that the differences in your own culture, as well as in other cultures, are real and they're valuable. Now, you can never learn everything, every nuance, everything about any single culture. Nobody's that good. I know I'm not that good. But I believe you can learn how to shift your perspective and change your behavior based on those cultural differences and commonalities that you're going to be encountering every single day. You can do it as an organization, and you can do it as an individual. Third, nurture tempered radicals. In any organization, there are two very powerful opposing forces. There are those who take an uncompromising stand on crucial issues. We sometimes refer to those people as kind of strident, right? Boy, they're rock solid. They're kind of strident. They're just getting their stuff out there. And there are those who fit in really well because they've figured out the code. They've figured out how to fit in. And sometimes we refer to those people as, yeah, they're really sold out, haven't they? All right? But there are some folks who kind of exist in the space between these two opposing forces within organizations. And those are your tempered radicals, right? And they're in every organization. And Deborah Meyerson from Stanford University some years ago, she actually wrote a book about that. She did a major study on it. And she wrote a book called Tempered Radicals. And I encourage you to take a look at that book. These are people who make small changes and not so small changes to make big changes. They may not seem important at the time, but when it's all done, you kind of realize that how did we get along before those changes were made? And these are the people who are fiercely loyal to the organization, but they see things that can be improved. They kind of see how you can tweak things here and there. They'll rock the boat, but they won't turn it over. They won't capsize it, right? Tempered radicals are powerful agents of change within organizations. Rarely are they the CEO or the senior vice president within an organization. They may be working at the reception desk, for example, or in the mail room, or in other parts of the organizations. But the one thing they all have in common, it seems, they're highly respected by their peers. They're seen as people who get things done. And they always seem to be just at the right moment, thinking just the right thing. They also kind of drive people crazy. CEOs and managers can't stand tempered radicals because they're always pushing the envelope. They're always saying, how come we're doing things like this? Why can't we do it that way? It drives people crazy, tempered radicals. They're different in some significant ways, whether it's because of their culture, their race, ethnicity, their gender, their life experience, whatever. There's something different about them because they don't feel that they're part of the dominant culture. So here's what I want you to think about for a minute. Do you like taking on a risk if you think something is important? Do you often think about how things could be improved? Do you appreciate handling conflicts? Are you ready to accept disadvantages, or even consequences for your convictions? Are you passionate about your personal values? And do you like to make changes even when things are going well? If you answered yes to these questions, or you know some of your colleagues who fit into those categories, you're tempered radicals. Don't fight it, embrace it, value it. You're an important part of this change process. And to create an environment that welcomes these tempered radicals, first of all, encourage out-of-the-frame thinking. Encourage it. In fact, it should become part of the value within the organization. Welcome all ideas, reward the good ones, and acknowledge the value of tempered radicals. Fourth idea is the notion that culture trumps strategy every time. Here's what I mean by that. Einstein said that the definition of insanity, I'm sure you've heard this quote before, is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting to get the same results. If you want that great diversity and inclusion strategy or that plan to work, you got to change the way things are done in the organization. And engaging tempered radicals in your organization in meaningful ways will start that change to begin to happen, that culture change within the organization. You must change the culture of your organization, those formal and informal rules that dictate how things are done around here. If some people can't and won't get with the program, don't be afraid to make changes that are in the best interest of the organization. Encourage them to look elsewhere. You'll be doing them a favor because they will no longer be miserable, and neither will you. Culture trumps strategy every time. Another great quote, Thomas Jefferson, if you want something you've never had, you must be willing to do something you've never done. Culture trumps strategy. And finally, I'm encouraging you to do this. It's a simple idea, but a vital one. Lean into your discomforts. Lean into your discomforts. It's a normal human reaction to avoid those things that are either dangerous or uncomfortable, sort of like fire. And that's a good thing. And that's a good thing. But for some people, talking about diversity and inclusion and equity and all the things that we've been talking about is fire. And they'll do anything to avoid it. Some people will even find ways to suffocate this fire before it even spreads. They see it as a danger. They see it as divisive. They see that, let's not make waves. We're just going to get a whole bunch of people upset for nothing. They will suffocate this before it spreads. So think of diversity and inclusion as life-giving fire that provide light and also provide warmth. Light and warmth, funny thing about that, things grow when you have light and warmth. There are times when a discussion about diversity can be uncomfortable. There are times. Don't lean away from it. Lean into this discomfort, because that's where the growth is. The real learning, I believe, starts as you lean into those discomforts around this issue. Some new ways of thinking about it. And I believe if we do these things, we can breathe some new life into the way that we think about diversity and to make it a living value within our organizations. And we can do it every day. We can have that Lazarus moment. I truly believe that. And I think that Lazarus moment is needed if we want to create inclusive and productive organizations, government institutions, and healthy communities. Everybody loves change. Everybody loves change. Just make sure you're the one that's changing. Thank you very much for your attention.